Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
You're listening to the Saving with Silverman. This is Ron Stutz, along with Mark Silverman of Silverman & Associates. Mark, of course, certified financial planner professional, the founder and the managing member at Silverman & Associates. If you live in Tucson or anywhere in southern Arizona, Mark is the guy you need to talk to. 520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. Call that number or text, and you can arrange a time to come in and have a conversation with Mark. And one more time, with that number, 520-333-7601. Mark, I know that you're excited about today's show, and we're going to talk about some really interesting topics. And the first item on the agenda is the double-edged sword. That can be good or it can be bad, I suppose. And you ready to go here?
Let's give it a shot.
I've spent a lot of time picking out this conversation, this particular topic, because I think that you'll want to expound on this quite a bit. Many financial circumstances that you'll find yourself in have both positive and negative aspects. It could be good or bad, and sometimes at the same time. Decisions that you can make have both good and bad consequences. Or as Sir Isaac Newton once put it, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. I thought maybe you could talk about the way that you'd walk people through the thought processes that go along with each of these predicaments that I'm going to lay out here. Number one, you want to sell some stock to take advantage of the terrific growth that you've seen for the last few years, but you don't want to deal with the taxes that would create. How would you coach someone on how to deal with that?
Well, that's always a conversation. Again, nobody wants to lose money, of course, but then when you make money, you don't want to pay the taxes when you make money. So you have to look at it as what the net benefit is. If you've made money and you pay taxes and you're still ahead of the game, that's not a bad situation. So it depends. I mean, what you want to think about is capital gains tax is typically lower for most people than ordinary income tax. So that is a benefit there because you're in a lower tax bracket if you sell, a stock or a position that you've had for a long time. But if the stock's doing well, maybe you just get rid of some of it or you liquidate some of it per each tax year. So it's not a huge gain in 1 year. So you can kind of slowly sell off positions and re-diversify that money. So again, it's always, like you said, a double-edged sword. You're happy that you made money, but now you got to pay the taxes.
Okay, Mark, you have someone come into your office, and this particular person has just received a big inheritance, but at the same time, they're still mourning the loss of a loved one who was responsible for that inheritance. How do you coach that person?
Well, it's a tough one. So depending on if that's a spouse or if it's a parent or sometimes it's even a child, it really comes down to, trying to move forward and deal with it. A lot of times we can help with the financial aspects and getting that part squared away, but dealing with the emotional part, is obviously very tough. We've gone through it numerous times with many of our clients, especially when they have, parents that have passed away or a spouse that passes away, and we'll do our best to help and guide them and get them through the financial aspects. But people, some people look forward to an inheritance, but like you said, on the other side of it, you've lost somebody very important in your life, which is obviously a tough situation.
Okay, we talked about a couple of different scenarios here, and one more I want to throw at you. The double-edged sword is what we're talking about here. Let's say that a person says he wants to put money in a Roth IRA so that it grows tax-free, but he also wants to put it in a traditional IRA so that he can get a tax deduction this year. What do you tell this person?
Well, I think as long as you're able to put money into a Roth or a traditional IRA, because there are certain limits. If you make too much money, you can't do it, or you have to have earned income, et cetera, in order to do it. But in my opinion, I still think the Roth IRA is a better way. Even though you don't get the deduction up front, that money still grows tax-free like it would in a traditional. However, all that money coming out, assuming you hold it for at least 5 years and you're of age, is all tax-free. So, if you're putting in, let's say, $5,000 and it grows to say $10,000, would you rather save on $5,000 or $10,000? I think most people agree if the account's done a decent job, it's going to grow to be more money, and the money at the end is going to be tax-free down the road versus what it was up front. So you got to pick or choose, but in my opinion, a Roth is a better way to go.
Mark, I know you've been doing this for a very long time. Exactly how long have you been helping folks in the Tucson area?
I started in the industry. Well, I started working when I was in college, attending U of A. I was an intern at one of the brokerage firms here in town.
Mhm.
But I officially started right out of college in 1995 with a brokerage firm here in Tucson. So what is that, 23 years?
Yeah, so you've been helping people for a very long time, and because of that, you've seen just about every kind of scenario. So I think it's really great that, whatever situation that you run into, you know how to handle it. And I think that's important for people to know that. Some of these things can get quite complicated if you try to do them yourself. Let's say that you have a person walk into your office and she wants to pay off her house, but she doesn't want to lose a tax deduction. What do you tell her?
Well, it depends. I mean, every situation's unique. It depends on where the money's coming from. If you have to pull money from a retirement account where you're going to pay, ordinary income taxes on it to do that, it might be not worth doing. But if you have money that's sitting in a savings account earning next to nothing and you're paying, interest on that house, maybe that does make sense. But as far as the tax deduction is concerned, who knows? They're talking about that going away anyways. So if that goes away, then that argument kind of comes a moot point at that situation. But, it really does come down to, in my opinion, peace of mind of what makes more sense of having the mortgage or not. We have clients on both sides. I have clients that are retired that don't have a mortgage, and then we have clients that are retired and still have a mortgage. It's all about cash flow and creating that. So every situation is unique, and we'll go through that and figure out what makes the most sense.
Yeah, so many aspects to consider. I mean, it's not a simple thing. So many things you have to look at. And one more I wanted to throw at you here. Let's say, and I know you hear this a lot. You've heard this probably hundreds of times from folks who say they want to reduce the risk in their portfolio, but they don't want to miss out on potential growth. And it's kind of hard to have it both ways. What do you tell that person?
Well, you can, though. I mean, it's really a measure of everybody needs growth. Some people need more growth than others. And what I like to say, it's not the win, but the set of the sail. So we can determine how much risk you're willing to accept. And as long as that risk is going to keep you on track to achieve your goals, great. But let's figure out what your comfort level is and what your risk tolerance is. And then we can build a portfolio and figure out how much you should have in equities, how much you should have in bonds, et cetera, and then even dig deeper into the different asset classes that are out there. But it's important that everybody, has a certain mix in their portfolio, and everybody's situation is different. But again, and that should be adjusted as you get closer to retirement and certainly in retirement. But even people that are retired, you still need some aspect of growth because we have inflation. And so you shouldn't be out of the market completely. Some people can be. If you have a lot of assets and you're living, well within your means, we can make the argument. But for most people, you still need some type of growth to keep pace with inflation.
Sometimes it's a trade-off. Sometimes you have to take the good with the bad or the bad with the good. And other times you can have it both ways. But Mark Silverman is a guy who knows how to set that up. And Mark's been doing this show for a very long time. If you'd like to come in and have a conversation with Mark Silverman face to face, you've been listening to him on the radio and you're thinking, hey, he makes a lot of sense. I'd really like to come in and sit down and talk with Mark about my unique situation. Mark, what do you have to offer that person who reaches out with a phone call?
Well, whether you're a first-time listener to the show or you've heard me for a long time, if anything I've said makes sense or resonates with you, this is now your opportunity to come in and have a conversation with me in my office to go through this process we call the financial physical. I can assure you I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. Rather, we will discuss your values and goals in a way, honestly, you probably never have. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who's actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. And as part of the financial physical, we will discuss your cash reserves, debt if you have any, insurance, all types, and how to best allocate your assets. And we'll even benchmark where you are now financially compared to where you want to be, so you have an even better perspective of what's required to achieve your goals for the reasons that are important to you. This will become the foundation for developing a plan that gives you the highest probability of making that happen. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to me with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. We try our best to help everyone. However, our slots fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting to the next 5 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
520-333-7601. You can call or text to that number, 520-333-7601. Now, maybe you're riding around in your car right now and you don't have your calendar in front of you. That's okay. You can work out the details later. Just go ahead and reach out with that phone call as soon as you get stopped, and you can make the call safely. 520-333-7601. A member of Mark's team will call you back first part of the week, and you can set a time to come in and have a conversation. And as Mark has said so many times, there's no one size fits all when it comes to retirement planning. Everybody's situation is different. You are unique, just as I am, just as Mark is. Call the number or text 520-333-7601, and you can make it happen. This is Saving with Silverman. I'm Ron Stutz, along with Mark Silverman of Silverman and Associates.
Learn the path to a worry-free retirement. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
Saving with Silverman. Ron Stutz here, along with Mark Silverman of Silverman and Associates. If you'd like to find out more about Mark and his business, savingwithsilverman.com is the website address. Great website address, easy to remember, savingwithsilverman.com. Of course, Mark Silverman in Tucson, serving folks all over southern Arizona. And the phone number to call is 520-333-7601. You can call or text 520-333-7601. Mark's a certified financial planner professional, the founder and the managing member of Silverman and Associates. And one more time with that number, 520-333-7601. You can call or text, your choice. Let's talk about life insurance, Mark. Why is life insurance such a dirty word to most people out there?
You know, I think because most people have had experience where maybe they're at a party or a function where they see the insurance, I'm picking on insurance people, insurance salesperson who's wearing, a suit and carrying the briefcase and coming to your home and trying to sell you something that you probably maybe not need. So I think that's kind of where most people see the insurance, is they're being sold something that they feel they don't need. And then nobody likes to be sold, in my opinion, and be dealing with somebody who's a salesman.
And I want to stress here, this is a good opportunity to say this. When you come in and meet with Mark Silverman, when you come in and have this conversation that we're talking about here, Mark's not going to try to sell you anything. He's not going to push any products off on you.
No, I'm the least salesy person you'll ever meet.
Yeah, it's just a conversation and kind of a getting to know you session. And
and I provide advice. I mean, we focus really on advice and planning.
Yeah.
Not selling like a lot of other people do.
And if you should decide that you'd like to become a client, that would be cool. But if not, you can walk away and you'll gather a lot of information in that conversation that you can take with you wherever you go. How do you determine if somebody even needs life insurance at all?
Well, getting back to what we just said about the planning. So when we build a comprehensive financial plan for a client, we look at all the different aspects. We're looking at their, obviously their investments, their cash flow, the insurances, the estate plan, the health aspects, long-term care. We're looking at everything, the risk and diversification. But, we'll determine, based on what their goals and objectives are, if life insurance, one, if they need life insurance, two, if they do, how much, and three, what's the best kind. And what we find is a lot of people do have life insurance already, but the type of life insurance that they have, they bought years ago, and it doesn't serve the need that they were intentionally bought the life insurance. So maybe it makes sense to get rid of the policy or replace it with something that fits what they're trying to do currently.
And certainly your needs change over time, and it's always good to reassess what you have and determine what you need. We're talking about life insurance on today's edition of Saving with Silverman. Ron Stutz here along with Mark Silverman. And Mark, you mentioned how much, if life insurance is needed, and you determine that in this conversation with this person, how do you determine the right amount?
Well, it depends on what the need is. So, let's say we're using life insurance to pass money on from generation to generation. Maybe they're looking to pass money on to their kids. Tax-free life insurance works great for that. If they want to give each of their kids, $1 million, then we would know what that amount is. If we're using life insurance to cover a long-term care need, we would figure out what the need is for the long-term care, and then we can kind of work backwards and figure out what that amount would be. So it just depends. Again, everybody's situation is different. And so as we're building a comprehensive plan, we'll come up with specific amounts based on what their goals and objectives and what they're trying to accomplish. And we'll point where there might be holes in their plan where insurance might be a good option to fix those situations.
Okay, one more question here in regards to life insurance. And obviously, there are some folks out there who may have some questions that we're not covering here today, and certainly a good idea to come in and talk about that. What are some strategic uses of life insurance that might not be obvious to some people? There's some advantages of some life insurance policies that some people don't even know about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people are aware of the traditional, when you die, it pays a benefit to somebody. It could be used to pass money, like I said earlier, from generation to generation, tax-free. It could be used to cover some estate planning issues. It could also be used in some other areas too, such as long-term care, when that's where we're using a lot of it these days, is to cover a long-term care need. It's a way of leveraging your dollars. So you could put money into a policy, and maybe that doubles and triples if you need long-term care coverage, or you or your spouse, which is a nice option to leverage that money. So that's another unique use that we see. But there's lots of different, life insurance can also be used. We use it for a lot of self-employed people to create guaranteed lifetime income in retirement, tax-free income in retirement. Life insurance can be used that way as well to create tax-free income. So there's lots of different uses. I'm not saying everybody needs insurance, but in a lot of plans, insurance does make sense in some people's cases. It just depends on, again, what type do you need, to how much, and what's the best kind of insurance to fit that need. And it's important that people get educated on those, because a lot of people weren't even aware that these are available.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things to think about. And Mark Silverman keeps up with all this kind of stuff. And so, there may be some things that you don't know about, as he just said. So why not come in for a conversation about that? No obligation, no cost. Mark, what do you have to offer those folks who reach out with a phone call?
Sure. Well, just like you get a second opinion on your health, why wouldn't you get a second opinion on your wealth? So whether you're a do-it-yourself or already working with someone, this is now your chance to go through this process we call the financial physical. Do you know what your investments are costing you? If you are still working, are you on track to have the type of retirement you've always envisioned? Or if you're already retired, do you know if you or your spouse are at risk of running out of money while trying to maintain your current lifestyle? I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. In this initial meeting, we'll address issues of importance to you, provide an overall view of your situation, and give you some general advice on what needs to be completed. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who is actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. Just as you want to reach a healthy life from a physical standpoint, you also want to reach and maintain great financial health. So our financial physical is just what the doctor ordered. We try our best to help everyone, however, our slots fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting for the next 5 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
520-333-7601 is your number to call right now. Reach out with a phone call. So easy to do. 520-333-7601. You can call, or you can simply shoot a text to that number, and you'll be in touch with Silverman and Associates both ways. Now, we both know how easy it is to procrastinate. You can put this off, and you'll say, hey, I'm not going to do it now, but I'll do it next week, or I'll do it next month. Well, it's going to turn out that you're going to do it next year, or maybe you'll never get around to doing it. So why not go ahead and do it right now? As soon as you can get to your phone, call the number and set up a time. You can arrange to set up a time. You're not going to talk to anybody today. Just leave a message or leave a text, whichever, and a member of Mark's office will call you, and then you can arrange a time to come in and have a conversation. A sit-down discussion with Mark Silverman. I promise, no pressure, no cost at all, no obligation. And Mark's a nice guy. You're going to enjoy just getting to know him, and he will get to know you as well by asking you a few questions, and vice versa. Ask him all the questions you want. 520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. This is Ron Stutz, along with Mark Silverman. at Silverman and Associates in Tucson. You're listening to Saving with Silverman.
You've got questions. We've got answers. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman with Mark Silverman. Mark's on the radio every week giving you all kinds of good generic advice. We can't really get specific until he knows more about your situation. That's why it's so important for you to go ahead and arrange a time to come in and have a conversation with Mark about your situation. 520-333-7601 is your number to call to make that happen. 520-333-7601. You can call or text right now. You're not going to actually talk to anybody today. Just leave your information, and Mark will get back with you first part of the week. Then you can arrange a time. So you don't need to have your calendar in front of you or your appointment book, nothing like that. Just call the number, reach out, and make that initial contact. 520-333-7601. Time to go to the request line, Mark, and as always, we have some good questions that have come in. David is in Vail, and David says, my father-in-law recently passed away and left us some money that we weren't expecting. We don't need it and want to give it to our son who could really use it, but I'm nervous that he'll just blow it on a Camaro. That'll be the end of it. Do you have any suggestions for how to handle this situation?
Well, great question, David, and sorry for your loss. It depends on how old your son is. I mean, you could set parameters or, set up an account maybe in their name or keep it under your name and then give them money or purchase things that you approve of, if he's going to use it for education or whatever it might be instead of a car. Or it really depends on the age of the child. I mean, if you just gift it to him, then he can do the money with what he can do what he wants with it, quite honestly. So maybe just keeping it or allowing him to use some of it for things that you approve of and setting those parameters is probably the best bet. But again, it really depends on the age of how you're setting it up. But you could set up an account if he's a minor, with your name as a university UTMA or UGMA, with those type of accounts, or you could just keep it and then, give it to him for, like I said, things that you approve of.
There are ways that you can handle it, and I know a lot of people out there may be facing the same scenario. They just, think that, he would blow the money right away, and then that would be the end of it, and they really don't want that to happen. So, listen, Mark Silverman can help you figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen. Got another question here from Sally in Green Valley. Hey, that rhymes. Sally in Green Valley. I love it. I just heard that I can get half of my ex-husband's Social Security benefit. Is that true? Can I really take half of it away from him?
You're not taking half of it. You could claim Social Security on anybody that you've been married to for 10 years or more, and it doesn't affect their Social Security. So, quite honestly, you could have somebody that was married, 3 different times, and all 3 of those ex-spouses, as long as they were married for at least 10 years, can draw off that person's Social Security. Again, it doesn't affect the person you're drawing off of. It doesn't affect their Social Security at all. It's just used for a calculation. But yeah, it is true. So anybody that you were married to for at least 10 years or more, you're able to draw from their number.
So you're not going to hurt your ex-husband, but
no.
Certainly
some people might want to, but it doesn't affect
it. There's money there for the taking if you just go ahead and do that, if you were married for at least 10 years. One more question today from Elizabeth in Tucson. And Elizabeth says there's a section on her 401k statement showing that she can expect a created income of about $4,000 a month from her current account balance. How reliable is that number, Mark? What are they basing it on?
I've seen those on statements. I wouldn't think it's super reliable. I mean, they're showing a factor. You don't know what age they're expecting you to live till. If you're married and, if you're not taking a joint payment. So there's lots of different factors. I wouldn't put too much weight on that number as far as what you might be getting. Sometimes they'll even include what you might be getting in Social Security in that number if you read in the parentheses. So you want to be careful of that too. We could have somebody run the numbers for you. We can certainly do that. But a safe withdrawal rate is not 4% any longer. It's closer to, somewhere between 2.5% to 3%. And so, give us a call. We're happy to sit down with you and kind of figure out what you might be able to draw off there. That's a safe withdrawal rate, as if you're not going to run out of money. So we're sure you're not doing that. But I wouldn't put too much weight on that number on your statement, unfortunately.
Some great questions have come in today from David and Sally and Elizabeth. We appreciate all three of those questions. And you may have questions to submit yourself. Go to savingwithsilverman.com, the website, and find out more about Mark. But Mark, I know a lot of folks are going to go to the phone and call your office and leave a message for you or send a text. And they want to come in and sit down and have a conversation with you face-to-face about their own situation. What happens when they walk through your door?
Well, I want to thank everybody for reaching out and submitting questions. And now is my chance to ask you a question, and can you answer it honestly and objectively as possible? Aside from the happy hellos and how's the family, and aside from the occasional lunch or golf game, I mean, I get it. I'm as much friends with many of my clients. They become true friends over the many years. But I think the question has to be asked, especially in light of the stakes. Is your current financial advisor truly adding value beyond a doubt? And I'll repeat, is your current financial advisor truly adding value? It's a valid question, as a friendship or just relationship allows you not to be in a position to ask those critical questions. Are you talking about taxes? Are you talking about Social Security and income and risk and diversification and insurance and estate planning and healthcare? Are you having those annual reviews, but hopefully it's more frequently than that? Is there detailed follow-up? Is there accountability? If you are, if all of that is happening, congratulations, because you've got a great relationship, and send your financial advisor a thank you. But if you're not having that, if you're not feeling the value, if you're not having these in-depth conversations, then you owe it to yourself and really to your family to have a conversation with someone else, because if you don't, you're the one that's going to suffer. You're the one that's going to pay the cost, and it'll cost you in more ways than you'll ever know. Let us prove to you how we can help your money go further in retirement. Let us show you with our financial physical. I believe you'll be surprised at what you'll learn, and this won't cost you anything. Give us a call or send us a text to 520-333-7601, 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601, or check us out online at savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. Mark hopes to hear from you between now and next week's show. Go ahead and reach out. Don't procrastinate. It's easy to put it off. And that's what we don't want you to do, because, people who put it off from week to week end up not doing it at all. So why not do it right now while the thought's in your mind? 520-333-7601. Call or text. Just leave a message, and then Mark's office will call you back, and you'll have an opportunity to set up a specific time to come in and have that conversation and get to know Mark a little bit and have him get to know you. Don't have to have your calendar in front of you right now. Nothing like that. This is not going to be a sales call. It's not going to be any high pressure, nothing like that. Mark's just going to sit down with you and have a conversation about your situation, and we're all different. So that's why it's so important to come in and talk face to face. 520-333-7601 is your number to call or text. You've been listening to Saving with Silverman. This is Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman. And Mark, I know you're going to hear from a lot of folks, and I know that you're looking forward to talking with them.
I am, and I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen, like kind of echoing what you said, Ron. Don't procrastinate. I mean, another month is behind us. Soon it's going to be mid-year. You need to get a handle on this, especially with all the volatility that we've had of late.
Join us again next week for the next edition of Saving with Silverman.
Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, product, service, or investment strategy. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified advisor, tax professional, or attorney before implementing any strategy or recommendation discussed herein.